allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. We're glad to have everybody out tonight. We want to thank Mary Ann's parents. So we kind of jumped the gun on it, but we do appreciate that. One of the things when we go out on our meetings, often we serve refreshments. And we like that. But we do appreciate that. But we are glad to have everyone that came out tonight. Some of you probably on the LSICs. Some of you may just be interested in parties. Some of you may be presenting for the LSICs. Or for whatever reason, we're glad to have you. We're glad to be here. Many of us have been here on numerous times. This group has been here many times, and probably knows it better than any of us. But we're glad to be here tonight. We're going to have the LSIC meetings for Midway and for Duval. We're going to do Midway first here. Before we do that, though, I'd just like to introduce those persons on the board and then with the board staff that are here, in case you might not know who they are. I'll start at the far end. That's Larry Wilkerson. He's one of our board members. Next is Fred Curry. Fred's the vice president of the board. Next is Superintendent Jeff Huffman. I'm sorry, Jeff.
Again?
We were having a conversation before this, and I guess the fact thing got in my mind.
His ears are probably burning.
Not my kids are. But no, Jeff Midkiff. We used to have a problem with this because we would tease him years ago, but we've kind of gotten over it. But
Apparently you have.
I'll circle back as a friend.
But anyway, let's move on here. I'm Steve Priestley. This is Rodney Rowdy Baker. He's a board member. Carol Smith, many of you know. Carol's one of our long-term board members. Now, also with us is Brenda Powell. She's the executive secretary to Mr. Midkiff. And Bill Level, he's the assistant superintendent for our school system. So you know most of these people and work with them all the time. And certainly appreciate them. In addition to them, in the back there, we have two gentlemen, esteemed as they may be. Ray Ellis is with us now. He's our treasurer. And Greg Gosney is our maintenance director now. Both of these gentlemen started their positions this past July. And they're doing well and plugging along and learning as they go and working hard. And we're happy with the job they're doing. Mr. O'Donohue with the Lincoln Journal, he's part of our traveling group, even though he doesn't ride with us, but he always seems to show up. He's everywhere. But anyway, we are glad to have everybody here. Thank you for coming out. First thing we want to do is have a minute correction. To correct the minutes of the October the 4th, 2016 meeting, making the effective date of employment for Megan Whitten be October 17th, 2016. Have a motion, please?
So moved.
Mr. Wilkerson made a motion.
Second.
Second by Mr. Baker. Is that an all yes date?
Yes.
Okay. Now let's approve the minutes of the October the 4th, 2016 regular meeting, please. As corrected. Mr. Curry made the motion. Ms. Smith seconded. Is that an all yes vote?
Yes.
All righty. Now, at this time, I don't think anyone has signed in, have they, Sean, on the pink slip? Okay. But just for your information, should anybody ever have an interest or ask you in the future, board meetings are business meetings, is what they basically are. And they are governed by a lot of things, including the Open Government Law, Open Meetings Act. But one of the things that we do provide is the opportunity for anyone who wants to address the board to do so. And all we ask that you do is you come and you sign up. And at this time, if we did have people, they would be able to speak to us. Now, the only thing that's a little different about that is since they aren't on our previously made agenda that goes out ahead of time, the public doesn't know that person X wants to speak about whatever topic may be. So we aren't really able to converse back and forth with them. But we listen to them, obviously. Mr. Midkiff, some of them probably are making notes of whatever they're saying. But we really can't, like they can't come in and ask us questions and us respond to them. not because we don't want to, but because if you had a controversial issue, for instance, and somebody came in with their version of what you think should be, and we hear that, well, what we would be doing would be depriving maybe the other side from giving their 2 cents. So that's the reason, or one of the reasons, that since it's not formally known to the public, that we can't do this, but we do listen to those. Now, should someone want to address the board, be on our agenda, all they have to do is get a hold of Mrs. Powell by the Wednesday preceding the board meeting, so they come around fast. So tomorrow, if they were to get let Brenda know that they want it on our agenda for next week, then they could formally be on our agenda, which goes out on Thursdays. Our agendas go out 3 days before our board meeting, not counting the day of the meeting. So our agendas go out Thursday. So if somebody wanted to be on there and be written in here to address the board, that'd be on there. We could have a dialogue with that person or person about a topic. That's just a little background in case anybody ever asks you. Okay, we don't have any public comments, so we're going to go to the LSIC reports. And Midway's going to go first. And Mr. Tully and Ms. Kester are going to be the presenters. I don't know, Bruce, are you going to be a gentleman or are you going to go first?
Well, I think we're going to, our fearless leader, as most of you are well aware of, he apologizes that he could not be here tonight, that he is under the weather. He's actually hospitalized. So again, he would love to have been here and presented tonight. So Jessica and I are going to try to fill his shoes, and I say try, we're really not equipped, I think, with his expertise to present, but we will try to do our very best. So I'm going to turn it over to start with Mrs. Kester here, and she's going to introduce us to our LSIC.
Okay, well, we are from Midway Elementary, and we believe that educating the whole child to thrive in an ever-changing world, that is our, pretty much our theme of our school. We've thought about changing it for years, but we always come back to this because we truly do believe this. Our vision statement for Midway Elementary is to make the path to lifelong success available, desirable, and obtainable for every student that enters. And I firmly believe that our staff does believe that. I'm going to turn this over to Mr. Tolley.
As you can see, this was our past year's performance on the West Virginia General Summative Assessment. You can see our grades 3, 4, and 5, and by the way, this is our ELA report. You can see in 3rd grade we had a total of 39 students that were tested, 4th grade 44, and 5th grade 39. You can see our percent proficiency, and then the county, and then followed by the state. So we did quite well compared to the county and the state, you know, on this. Now, one of our goals was to increase our scores 3%, and we did increase by 3% in both ELA and math, and that was a goal that we had.
Strategic plan.
In our
On our
strategic plan.
plan, that was our goal.
Can you folks hear us? I mean,
That's really
Yes.
good. Okay.
okay. I didn't know with the air
I know it's
conditioning
really loud.
back here.
You're good.
And if you have any questions, you know, feel free to interrupt. You know, we promised Mr. Linville that we would make it short and sweet, and I know you folks are tired, and of course, I'll be honest, I am too. So, all right. Going to the next one is our math scores again. This was grades 3 through 5, and I want to say that, and I'm getting a little bit off of it, but you know, these are not just your 3rd through 5th grade teachers. You know, these are our kindergarten through 5th grade teachers, because they are also a part of this. You know, not only these students, and of course they're the ones that make it, but you know, we have to also think about the parents. We have wonderful parents at our school that believe in education. We have a wonderful staff. I put our staff up against anyone. I'm sorry, Duval, but you know, we would put our staff up against anyone in the state. We have a wonderful, caring staff. Our students again, our parents, you know, you folks, you know, you make our lives a lot easier and successful. You as board members and central office staff, you know, I cannot recall ever calling Brenda or Tina or Mr. Midkiff, and I will call you Mr. Midkiff, and anyone else at the central office, you know, that I've asked them for something or any other person, and, you know, that request has been fully, you know, implemented, you know, anything that we have. So, you know, you also need to congratulate yourselves on this. But as you can look here, again, the same amount of students, our proficiency, and the county and the state, and you can see that we did quite well in these areas. All right, hopefully that will. This is our average fourth grade proficiency in science, and the only one, and that's the only reason that we have the fourth grade up, they do not take the test in third grades or fifth grades, just the fourth grade. And you can see, I believe the first one there is at the West Virginia, and you can see it was 32% proficiency. The gray in the middle is the county, which was 26, I believe, and then Midway's was at 36. I can't see.
Yeah.
36. So again, we scored, you know, higher than the county and the state. And again, that's you know, that's accolades to our students and our parents and our staff. Now, one of our goals, of course, that we had, and these are challenges and barriers based on the data that we have. And I think it's not only an issue at Midway Elementary or Lincoln County, not even the state of West Virginia, nationally. We see these issues. We have a large achievement gap between boys and girls in ELA, and of course I think math too. You can see here, we had 65% of our girls that were proficient, but then you look at our boys, 43%. Math the same way. Look at our girls, 50%, and our boys, 31%.
And we don't keep this a secret from our students. We let them know, boys, those girls are showing you up, and they know it. So we make sure that they are well aware of their own scores, so that way in the future they'll be able to improve at least their own score. That's our main goal.
And you can see here, and these are some of our strategic. This is one of our in our strategic plans. One of our goals was to narrow the gap between the achievement gap between males and females. And of course, you know, low math scores. Again, that's not a Midway issue. That's not a Lincoln County issue. That's a national and state issue. And if you look at our enrollment, you can see why there might be a little gap there. We have a total of 325 students at Midway. The boys outnumber the girls by quite a percentage, 186 boys to 139 girls. And, you know, one of the barriers, we did have 4 and we changed that. Hopefully after tonight we will only have 2 staff needs. We just hired a 5th grade teacher that took my place actually. And then we also have a lady that will hopefully be hired tonight for one of the first grades. Okay? So anyway, hopefully that'll go down as the year, but again, that's not, I don't think that's a Midway issue. I think that is a statewide issue, you know, with, you know, trying to fill positions with qualified, you know, teachers.
Okay, so once we look at all of that data, we really need a game plan for how we're going to get our goals. So there are a few things on here that you probably remember from last year because we found that they do work. One of the things that we still use now is our iRead program. That's for K-2 mainly, but we added 3rd grade because we found that certain 3rd graders did not complete the program, so they are now in the process of completing it, so they can come on grade level. We also have First Book, and we have Book It that we participate in every year. We have a little program in our school called Take a Book, Leave a Book. This was started a few years back where students can come and just donate books. And if students need a book, they can just come and take what they need. And it's pretty much come and go. And our student leadership keeps it stocked. We have an IPAP group. IPAP is Intensive Phonemic Awareness Program, and that's mainly for K and 1. It's to catch those students who really need those beginning phonics skills. And so once we have our beginning data from the school year, we have our Title I interventionist that pulls those students to work with them on those skills. We also have our Title I teachers. We're fortunate enough to have 2 that work alongside grades 1 through 5. We have our interventionist working with kindergarten, and it's nice because she's just strictly kindergarten, so they can utilize her in the best way possible. We have our reading inventory, which is a computer assessment. It used to be called Scholastic Reading Inventory, but I heard Scholastic was bought
And that's
out.
done about 3 times,
Yeah.
3 times a year. It used to be called Scholastic Reading and Scholastic Math, and that gives us an idea, you know, where we need to gear our instructional programs as the year progresses.
We have a lot of online resources that we use as well, including the Smarter Balance Library and other resources. We give Smarter Balance benchmarks, and a lot of times they're given by the county. We have a book buddy program with 4th grade and 1st grade. We set aside a time once a week where 4th grade will come and share books alongside 1st grade. And sometimes 1st grade reads to them, sometimes 4th grade reads to 1st grade. And it's been a really good program. We also have started Reflex Math. It started at the end of last year. This is a computer program that really helps build number sense among the upper grades, starting with 2nd grade and working our way up through 5th grade. We also have an adoption of our new science series, which our students are loving. They love those hands-on activities. They're doing great with it. Every spring, our Title I teachers have done test talks. This is what I was telling you before about how we told the boys the girls are showing them up. This is where they talk about it. So we've showed the students what their score was from the previous year and said, okay, what are you going to do to improve? This is a one-on-one conversation with the Title I teacher. They take several weeks to do this, but they meet with every child from 3rd grade through 5th grade, or really just 4th and 5th, because 3rd grade didn't take.
Right.
Yes, so 4th and 5th grade, they do that every year. And we have found that it does help.
They kind of set a goal, they look at what their scores were last
Yeah.
year, and then they set a goal for the new test this year and try to beat that old goal.
And that leads right into data notebooks. Every teacher keeps track with data notebooks, and they could range from all kinds of information in it. I know personally in my class, we track our math fluency facts, we track our iRead goals, we track our different assessments that we take, and we want to try to beat our goals. It's a really good way to help the kids be accountable for what they're doing in the room. We also have our responsible student program, which we call the STANG reward or the STANG program. We'll talk about more about that later. And then something we decided when we looked at our data, because math was still such a struggle, we thought we've got to do something, and it's got to be K to 5. So we decided this year that we would implement number talks in every single classroom. It's actually part of our teacher handbook. It is required. And Mr. Davis, when he comes around to check our lesson plans, he needs to see that and it be utilized every single day. So we're hoping that through that, especially keeping it up over the next several years, that will help our math scores go up.
What is that? What is the number talk?
Number talks is a way for kids to mentally think through math problems. For example, in kindergarten and 1st grade, they start with dots. Picture dots on a dice. Okay, if you were to roll a dice, you don't have to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You see it as 5. Kids have to learn how to do that. So it starts that way, recognizing it's 5 or 4 or a group of 10. Eventually, when they get up to even towards the end of 1st grade and on up through 5th grade, they learn more mental math strategies. For example, learning how to add 21 and 43 very quickly. Well, I can take 20 and 10 and I can add those together, make 6 and 3, take that together.
Checking the numbers.
And it's just basically a way for them to think through. And the way it works in the classroom is you let them talk. You show them a problem, and the teacher will write down what their way of thinking is. Well, I solved this problem because I saw 20 and 10 and I got 30, and 6 and 3 is 9, so I got 39 as my answer. And we would write that down, and then other kids would comment and say, well, that's not right, or that is right, and it's a conversation that goes on within the classroom, and it's really good. It's really good. I hope that answered.
Oh, it did.
Okay,
Thank you.
you get a good image in your head. We have a lot of innovative programs at our school. One thing Mr. Davis wanted to continue was Project Wisdom. This is a character education, program that introduces a concept for the day. For example, respect. It gives a little story, and the student leadership reads this every morning. It is something that is scripted, but they read it every morning during our morning announcements, and it worked really well last year, so we decided to keep it this year. We also have a bulletin board for our awesome authors. Every month, each teacher decides or chooses a student who they feel showed a very good writing piece, and there's comments on them, and we always pull an awesome author and we hang it up, and just to kind of show off what our kids are doing in writing. We have our theme of the month, which ties into our character education. This month is making the world a better place, and each teacher is required to at least teach one lesson based on the theme of the month, to help the kids understand that, having good character is also part of being, a good citizen. We have our 21st Century After School program that is Monday through Thursday. We have our mental health counselor from Prestera. She comes in twice a week. We also have a data wall. We don't hide our scores from our kids. They know. They can see it as they're standing in line to go into the lunchroom. So we have all of our data displayed, and I have seen kids looking at them. So they're very well aware of what our scores were last year. And again, we are continuing with our Responsible Students program.
Under student leadership, you can see that we have 3 areas: student council, flag patrol, and safety patrol. Under the student council, they vote from their peers. They get voted into student council, grades 3 through 5, and some of the things they do, they organize some school supplies for Africa, and they send them over with missionaries, deliver crosswords to chemo patients at CAMC. They keep up the flower beds in our playground at school. They read words of wisdom every morning. That's what she was talking about with the Responsible Students program. They collect supplies for homeless shelters in the area, and of course, they help decide what staying reward activities that we're going to do at the end of each 9 weeks. Under our flag patrol, they are trained. We usually bring in a VFW individual, and he trains them how to actually fold the flag up, how to place their hand on the heart, exactly where to place that, so forth and so on. So we have individuals that do that every day, that puts the flag up and also takes it down. We have a safety patrol, and we found this is very, very helpful with our upper intermediate grades, helping the primary grades. We have students that take the K1 students to the bus.
I have to say that runs so smooth. We used to have teachers that did it, and I swear these kids are way better. They really are. I mean, they get those kids lined up, they walk them out, and I'm like, oh, my kids are gone? They are awesome with it.
They also personally walk the students with special needs to and from their buses. They're waiting there for them when they get off the buses, and I know that happens daily because I see that. And of course, they help monitor the hallways, the bathrooms, the multi-purpose room in the mornings. And if you notice down to the bottom, we did get an accommodation from OEPA for our student leadership during their last visit in the county. What's new? Well, again, we would like to thank our PTO and, of course, you board members for your generous help and contributions for this new sign. We got it actually the other day placed. We need maintenance to come over and hook the electricity and so forth, and I think the gentlemen are going to come back and train how to actually program it. And it's a neat thing. You can program it with your smartphone or a tablet, your iPad or whatever, and put the information up. So we greatly appreciate your contributions to that. You go ahead and do that. You can talk. Come on, sweetheart. You can talk.
All right. We applied for a Community Schools Innovation Zones grant, and we were able to receive a lot of funds for that, and we used those funds for all kinds of stuff. One of the things that we were able to get from that grant was the Community School Coordinator. We also participate in Battle of the Books with Ranger Elementary, I believe.
And that's through a grant, and I think some of the central office and you folks are aware of that. We battle not only Ranger Elementary with the Battle of the Books, In third, fourth, and fifth grade, they are assigned a specific book, and they are asked questions, and they compete at a certain day for that award. I have to say that we did win, those. We also have the attendance challenge that we do with Ranger Elementary, and that is a monthly thing that we do.
Coming up at the beginning of November, I believe, we are going to be taking a special field trip to BAM, which is Books A Million up in Southridge. Each child will be able to purchase a book, and we put purchase in parentheses because they really don't buy them. But BAM actually gives us the money so that every child can go in and at least buy one book that is within a price range of, I believe, $12 or so, which is a pretty decent book. So we ship every one of our students a little bit at a time, and we go up there and they get to go to a real bookstore and pick a book they want, and they love it. We did that last year, and Books A Million was just so awesome, and they invited us to do that again this year. Again, we have our after-school program. We also purchase incentives for our Responsible Students program through this grant. We also have a partnership with the Lincoln County, or the Lincoln Primary Care Center. They have a special room in our school where I think they come once a week.
They come once a week on Wednesdays, and we have a nurse practitioner so that if we have students that are not feeling well and have signed up, and they can go up instead of having to take the child out of the school to go to a doctor. She's there, and they can visit her.
And again, we do have our mental health counselor from Christera. Because that was something that we knew a lot of our students needed, was just mental health. So we were really fortunate enough to have a mental health counselor now. This is part of our Responsible Students program. I know you've heard us mention it a few times. This program has now been set in place for 4 or 5 years at least, and we found that it really works, and our kids love it, and they work really hard to get those staying points. Every day our students come to school, they can earn a point, but they can't get their point taken away. So each one of the letters in STANG stand for something. So the S is striving for success, the T is treat others with respect. So basically, if they're getting in trouble every day, they're going to lose that point. A is attend school daily. Pretty much, if they're coming to school every day, they're going to get their point. N is need to be prepared. That comes alongside bringing their homework, their backpacks, wearing the right shoes for gym, anything like that, things that they need for school. The G is get to school on time and stay all day. And we're just trying to teach our kids responsibility. This is more than behavior. Okay, we're just trying to teach them that you need to be at school. It's important. You need to be prepared for school. You can't just show up and expect to do well. You've got to have your stuff ready. So through the grant, we were able to purchase different incentives.
These are some of our popular ones that we have done in the past, and there's number one.
One's pumpkin bowling that's coming up, I think, next week, the week after. Oh my goodness, it's going to be great. Like we said before, our student leadership does normally vote on our different STANG activities. These are the ones that we have used in the past that they really, really enjoy. They keep coming back to these same ones. The second one they absolutely loved, it was our prize auction. Through that grant, we just bought a ton of prizes, and we made this play money. We called it our STANG bucks. We gave every kid 100 STANG bucks, and they sat there and they got to bid on different prizes, and they just loved it. They thought it was the greatest thing. We also play Minute to Win It games, and at the very end, we usually do a special field trip, picnic in the park. We take the kids to the Lions Club Park. We have a little mini cookout, and we're there for just a few hours, just to show them that we expect them to be responsible, and so we want to reward those that are responsible.
And believe it or not, the pumpkin bowling is probably the most popular one. You can see the child rolling the pumpkin, and of course, Mr. Davis, he's standing there in the back there. Sometimes the pumpkins, they come apart, But anyway,
They love it.
they love it. As far as student safety, a lot of these things are, we are a school that's located near a major highway, but we feel very safe, and I think the parents feel that their students are safe at our school. We have gates, of course, that we close and allow you have to be in to get in. We have, of course, fobs. Number 3, we have one entrance and exit for all students. We have staff during playground duty. They are staffed at different areas of the playground. We do have lockdown procedures. We have a crisis intervention team, evacuation plan and drill, and we have done these. We go through these. Of course, we are required to do 10 fire drills per year, and we are on our way to that. And we have our code red and code black. And again, we want to thank the board members for that intercom system, because it really helps us. If we now, you can hear throughout the building, you can also hear the old system. You could not hear out on the playground, and we did get to test, one of those plans, because a couple years ago we had a bank robbery at a local bank, so we had to get the kids into the building and sheltered in place in their classroom. So this really helps as far as the intercom system that you granted us. So we appreciate that.
Our staff is just full of amazing people. I mean, just incredible. They are amazing. So we were fortunate enough to have the Service Personnel of the Year, Laura Sands. She's been a kindergarten aide in our school for about
This is working, I think
30
she
years?
is close to 30 years,
Yeah.
if not over 30 years.
and
She's a
she
little
does
behind me. so,
wonderful. So she every bit deserved this.
And we have
And of
also,
course-
look at this.
Our awesome principal.
And I wish he could be here,
Yes.
but he was this past year RISA 2 Principal of the Year.
Yes.
And that goes through, shows his extreme hard work that he has put in and effort that he's put in our school. We are so fortunate to have this gentleman as our leader, one of the kindest gentlemen that you would ever want to meet. He gels the school. I've never heard a parent say one bad thing about him. I mean, and during his illness, every day the kids come in and the parents come in asking, how's Mr. Davis doing and so forth. So that goes to show you how much they really respect him and care for him. And by the way, this was RISA 2 Teacher of the Year a couple years ago. So I said we have a wonderful staff here, so, and we do. And,
Yeah, we promised we wouldn't ask you for anything this year. Even though we really wanted to, we said, no, it's okay.
I
So
said,
thank
we
you.
have some windows, and he said, no, we're not.
We can't.
We're not
No.
asking, but we know it is a difficult time,
Yes.
money-wise, statewide, but he made us promise we
Yep.
wouldn't ask for anything, but we do want to thank you again for fixing
Yes.
our intercom system, and of course,
Our new sign,
our
it
new
looks really
sign.
good up
And
there.
we're gonna use our old one, and we're putting it right in front of the entrance where, that's why it's there.
The kids saw it being pulled up, they thought it was the coolest thing.
So you're gonna keep the old sign?
We're gonna use the old
Are you?
sign, put it there in the flower garden as you enter the building. So, we put things up for parents to see there. So, and I think that is it. We want to thank you folks for laboring through our presentation. We apologize if we went over, but we appreciate
Yes, thank you,
your
guys.
patience.
Okay. Any board members, anybody have any questions or comments?
I have.
Really good.
Your results, I don't have everyone else's results in front of me, but I pay attention to these as we do the LSIC meetings, and without the benefit of everyone else's results, yours are incredible. I don't think any other school in the county has scored at or above the statewide levels in as many areas as you all have. I don't know everything you're doing, but you're obviously doing something a little better than most of the schools in the county are, and please keep it up. As much as we hate standardized testing, it does give you a benchmark to compare to other people, and you are probably, and you all, Jeff or Bill, you might tell me I'm wrong, but I don't think anyone else is close to the level of proficiency you all are across your grade levels.
And I think part of the reason for that too is our staff, we don't just look at, well, those are 3, 4, and 5th, that's 3, 4, and 5.
It's an
We
entire
know in
school
kindergarten,
effort.
we sit down, we're together and we say, okay, guys, upper grade, what do we need to work on? So that way by the time they get to you, they're not struggling so much. So when we break up into our PLCs, that's a conversation we have a lot. Because we're like, okay, what can we do? This is silly. I was helping to grade some of their practice assessments last year. Good Lord, I'm glad I'm not in fifth grade anymore. I mean, it was hard. And I thought, oh my gosh, like, we need to start prepping our kids a little bit more for this. So I went back to my first grade team. I said, okay, we need to start coming up with some ways to just get them to think the way they're wanting fifth grade to think. So I think that's part of the
And that
biggest
makes it
thing
easier for
that
us,
helps.
once that the children have been taught in the primary grades, and again, it's an effort, and I said, you know, it's not only just the staff at Midway, you know, we have very caring parents that have a desire for their children to be successful. They want them to be more successful than they are, and that's a big, you know, in education. And of course, pick their students, you know, this wouldn't happen without our students, and our students do care, and that shows how much they care. You know, they've worked very hard.
I have one question. You may or may not be able to answer it, and it may be a faulty question, because my background isn't education. This is just coming from common sense. It seems to me that years and years ago, that when you looked at proficiency of students in certain areas, that males typically outperform females in the area of math.
They normally do in high school. They normally catch up with research. I mean, it may have changed, but I know when I was in school, generally when they get into high school, males seem to outperform females in science and math. But in elementary, it's generally the opposite.
Well, if that still holds true, and I know it did in English language arts as well, do you have any ideas as to why there is such a gap
Yeah.
between your male population and your female population?
We do. We've been looking into it, and one of the things is males learn differently than females, and you know they have to be. Some research says males need to be a little bit more active, you know, in what they're doing in order to actually get the information than females. Females can be more, you know, they can sit at a chair and a desk and perform well, whereas a male, no, they're like me, they're going to be daydreaming, you know, in a few minutes. So if you have things where they're interactive and they're more active, males, and that's just one thing, that's just one area.
Well, and I know we are currently brainstorming ideas of how do we get our boys on par with our girls. I mean, we've brought in male guest speakers to come in and just read to them. And we've just been doing a lot of research online and through
some of the
professional
things
development.
we've
How
purchased.
can we help them?
Yeah, we purchased reading material
Yeah.
that would engage males more so because they like, you know, they like animal books and so
They
forth.
like nonfiction
So,
books, cars,
yeah.
trucks, animals,
So,
anything like
you know,
that.
we try to do that, you know, but again, you know, it goes back, if, you know, if the test is talking about Betty's cooking recipe, you know, it's probably going to tune the male population out. That's
Well,
something that we can't control.
I don't think anyone else in any of our LSIC meetings has shown us a statistic of male versus female performance, and that's why I found that so interesting. I didn't mean to put you on the spot, but I'm very impressed that you're looking
Well,
at
no,
it.
that is an
Because
expertise
we
plan.
talked about
You
it,
know,
it's a problem.
That's
And
one of our, you know, that's one of our goals, and that's one that we haven't quite reached, you know, but we know that, you know, one was to engage our student population in more technology use.
Yep.
You know, the other one was to increase our ELA and math scores, and you know, those are increasing, those first two. But then the third was to try to work on that gap of male-female. And we haven't, you know, we still have, you know, our male population, and we did the research, and you know, I mean, we looked it up. Our male population did increase, you know, last year, but the only problem was our female population increased a lot more. So they are increasing, but the gap is still there. They're not catching up. But again, you know, I think part of it is, you know, their age. And I'm sorry to say, but I think that is part of it. You know, little boys, they have their minds on other things at times, where the girls are a little more settled in elementary.
See, we're trying. I mean, that reflex math is that computer program, and you know, boys love playing video games. I mean, they love it. So even just through things like that we're trying to incorporate through math to help them with their math skills. I mean, we're trying what we can, and it's a struggle, but we're currently brainstorming ideas of what we can do. If anybody else here has ways to help us, please tell
forward
us.
them to us.
Because we want to know. So,
I'm just impressed that you recognize that difference and are attacking it on so many fronts, so thank you.
And one thing here, we want to thank you all for filling in for Mr. Davis this evening. And we too, hope he's well and back soon, and I'm sure you all are. And your leader's not there, things are a little bit off kilter, but you all certainly filled in well this evening. Just one thing I'd like to share or bring up at this time, facility related. There's an issue that, the reason I want to do it now is because it affects both Duval and Midway. And this relates to our sewage treatment plants. I know that that's an issue that you're all aware of, we're aware. I'm going to ask Mr. Midkiff to kind of give us just a little overview of what's going on.
Okay, you're quite kind that you wouldn't ask for anything at the board meeting. Now, when I talked to Mr. Davis last week, I said, all right, Donna, look, the roof leaks, the windows need replaced, every time it seems like I pull on the parking lot over there, there's a maintenance vehicle parked, working on something.
We're an old building, and
It's an old building.
That's one of the pitfalls of an old building. It has its nice things, but it has also some issues.
The sewer treatment plant in particular has been a concern. It's been a concern, not only Midway, but as well as Duval. I've noticed here in the presentation,
Because we
Mary
don't
Ann,
care to ask.
whether it's
Asking you
new,
shall receive,
that's right.
maybe.
She always says that too. She said, it doesn't hurt to ask, right? You might tell me no, but still want to ask. But that's right. I think what you had stated in here in your presentation, we'll talk about later on, is either a new sewer treatment plant or an updated one. The issue is that you can't update the sewer treatment plants. At times, they've been on life support. And we've been able to nurse them back to health. And,
Mr. McKiff, one of the issues at Midway is when they installed the sewer plant, the wind blows from that direction, so when the children are out on the playground, you get a nice odor, okay, from the sewer plant. If it was, in another location, maybe if we put it closer to the library, but, but I do have, one thing I know, I'm on another board, and we are in the works of actually bringing public sewage, and that's, it's progressing into the Allen Creek area. So, but, with anything, it's money and it's time, it takes a period of time to get that, but I think it will happen. It's going to occur at Allen Creek in that area, so, in the near future.
We've known it's been a concern for some time. And a few years ago, if you recall, we attempted to run a bond referendum that would have consolidated Midway and Duval in a new building out in Sumerco. And of course, the bond failed miserably. But at that time, we thought that would be the way that we would attack the situation. Not have to look at replacing those sewer treatment plants, but maybe a new facility. They're expensive. I think Mr. Gosney had told us recently at a board meeting, as a matter of fact, because we're prioritizing what our facility needs are across the district, that replacing the sewer treatment plant at Duval, I remember that quote, was around $500,000.
$538,000.
So you're looking at an enormous cost expense to replace just one sewer treatment plant. It's an issue not only at Midway and Duval, but the one at Ranger Elementary is also in bad shape as well. This past year, we ran a major, we went to the school building authority with a major improvement project that would have added 4 new pre-K classrooms at West Hamlin Elementary. Felt like that was a real need, an opportunity to get some money to address that concern, and we were unsuccessful, highly unsuccessful. In that meeting, when I was there, we quickly figured out that projects that involve sewer treatment plants, HVAC systems, those seem to be the projects that were getting attention and getting the money from the school building authority. So it's really changed our mindset, our thought process as we look to go back to the school building authority this spring. In March, we will be able to submit a plan, but we want to look at possibility of replacing some of our sewer treatment plants.
We would love to have some central air and heat in that the old part of the building, since we're not asking for anything.
Well, we just bring that one up because sewage treatment plant, should it go out on, we'll close the school down. To rebuild one and put in a new one, Mr. Gosley tells us, we're not talking about a few days of being off school, we're talking about weeks of being off school. So that's why it's such a priority for us. We realize other things are too, Bruce. But like Mr. Midkiff said, this is, we were always led to believe that the school building authority would not fund such things as this. And then when they go to these meetings, they say, well, yeah, somebody's getting some of these monies. So you heard the quote there for the one at Duval. So for the one at Midway, it's not much less, but you're probably looking at $1 million for the two of them. And, you know, financially for us, that's just, you know, far beyond our means.
But with the SBA's help, I mean, because we could ask for as much as $1 million, you know.
Typically, what percentage would we have to add in?
Around 20%.
About 20%, so that's feasible for us. Now, should we not be successful, we're still going to have to look at, you know, at these plans, even if we have to, you know, we have to do it one at a time, we may have to decide how we're going to fund those.
Well, you know, on that note, you know, I think when, you know, unless they've updated it, you know, when that was built, that system was built, Midway had probably an enrollment of 175 kids. You know, and now, you know, we're 325 kids, so, you know, that's quite a few more, and I'm sure Duval is probably in the same boat. You know, when it was built, you know, it was probably the high school here, or maybe, I don't know if they had less or more at that time.
But these quotes they've gotten, I think, take into consideration the student population, don't they, Greg?
Actually, they went down, Duval went down from 10,000 per month on the volume to 6,000. So we're pricing an 8,000 type system. What they've got out here now is it's a 20,000 system. Had we went with the original one, it would have been a lot higher than the $538,000.
Midway's may be larger than the original that we
Yes,
put in.
yes, yes,
That's
it's
probably
larger
true.
than
We're
the
Duval
original.
being the high school before, probably has a lesser population.
Mr. Priestley, I've been told to get authority that there exist companies that have, of course, Lord only knows what it costs, but there are sort of portable sewage treatment units that can be brought on site if we have such an emergency.
I just brought it up because it's certainly, but if we would have to do that, I mean, it would be devastating to us. And we know we're kind of limping along, but we want to limp along for the rest of this year and hopefully be able to address it. But I just want to mention that because it affects both schools, okay? Thank you all for coming, appreciate it. Our best to Mr. Davis and all the faculty and students at Midway Elementary. Okay, next, we have a new principal at Duval Elementary and Middle School. That's Miss Patton. We're going to let her do her LSIC. She may ask for some assistance. We'll find out here when she gets ready to go. Thank you. Nice job. Mr. King,
See you, sir.
how are you?
Fine, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Our Federal Programs Director, Mr. King, is with us now, so we can proceed.
Another commitment.
I understand you give me a hard time.
I like that.
Miss Patton.
So we are honored that you guys are here at Duval with us tonight. And I'm very pleased that we have such a large turnout from our LSIC. We've already had 2 meetings, and as you can see, we have a lot of parents and teachers that are involved and others. So a lot of them are going to be helping to present the different pieces that you've requested tonight. But let me go ahead and introduce everyone at this point, so if you guys can just wave. We have one of our parents, LaTanya Stowers, here tonight, Julie Johnson. And we also have Justina Linville. She hasn't signed in yet, so I had to remember that you were here. And then Jennifer Pauley, who was one of my former students when she was back in the 8th grade, but oh well. And then we have some of our teachers here as well. Teresa Wickline, who will be presenting, and Shonda Witten, and Noreen Gallion. And we also have one of our leadership team members here, which is Betsy Dudley. And then we have Ms. Siobhan Brown, our vice principal. She will be starting with our data. Okay, these are our results for 2015, 2016. And as you look down through there at the numbers, especially the math numbers, you get a little disheartened. So I like to look for the positives where I can. So for math, our students last year who were proficient in grades 5, 7, and 8 were above the county proficiency rate, and the 7th grade tied with the state. In ELA, the 7th grade was above the county. So those are a few positives, but of course we still have a long way to go. Okay, this is the comparison by grades. First you'll see the 2014-15 results, and then the 2015-16 results, and these are by grades. So as you can see, scores have come up as far as grade level goes. In 3rd, 5th, 7th, and 8th, scores have increased by grade level. And that's in math. In ELA, scores came up in the 6th, 7th, and the 8th grade levels. So we do have some positives as far as across the grade levels go. Then we look at the trend data. These are the scores as 3rd graders year before last, and then 4th graders last year, and then on down through there. The scores have come up, let me see where I'm at here. Only the current 8th graders, so this year's 8th graders improved over the last 2 years. And that was really the only ones. Everybody else kind of went down in math. In ELA, current 6th graders and current 8th graders improved over the last 2 years. And then the students who were in 8th grade last year that are now in high school remained constant. One of the things that we kind of feel like had an impact on scores this past year is, I don't know why, but the IABs and the diagnostic test, the IABs, and the comprehensive interim assessment at the end were all crammed in like the 6 weeks before testing. I don't know if those weren't available until then, or they just figured out they could do those at that time. But so those kids were tested and tested and tested and tested, and then they had the summative assessment. And I think those kids were kind of tested out by that point. So things are going to be very different this year. This week and next week, we're having a block where they can take those first interim assessments. And then in January, they'll be able to take a couple more. And then in March, they'll take those last ones. So we're spreading those out throughout the year. And then for the month before testing, there'll be none of those. So those kids will have that break, and hopefully they'll be more refreshed and more ready for testing. And hopefully we'll see an improvement in scores at that point.
One thing I'd like to point out, we didn't put it in the slide presentation, but one of our goals in our strategic plan is also to increase, or to decrease, we should say, the achievement gap between boys and girls. When I looked at that as a goal before I got here, you know, I talked to Yvonne, I said, is that really necessary? Is that goal necessary? And so she and I looked at all of the data, and sure enough, we're seeing even in our middle school students that the boys are just really not performing up to where the girls are. I mean, there are some ginormous gaps in some of our grades. And I can't remember who mentioned it earlier, but I know back when I first started teaching, there was that push. And even when I was back in school myself, there was that push. We've got to get girls into math classes, those upper math classes. Boys so outperform girls, and it's just reversed now. And we also had, just in our leadership team meeting yesterday, this discussion as we were updating our strategic plan before we submitted. You know, what are those reasons? I mean, we can't say that we have any valid, you know, reasons. We've not done any research, but, you know, our thoughts were perhaps it's because there is an absence of fathers in the home. That could be just one of the reasons. And I think there are some culture changes as well. But again, we're going to be looking at that as well, and that's one of our goals, and we've got some plans to try to make our boys achieve just the same level our girls are.
Interestingly enough, though, I believe it was our 6th graders or just the opposite?
Yes, there was one
The
grade.
boys outperformed the girls in sixth grade, so that
But it
was
wasn't
the
by,
only grade
yes, but
level.
it wasn't by a whole lot though, they did outperform, and overall, it was a big deal for us as well. So now we're going to go to our plans to improve achievement. We're going to start at the elementary level, and Ms. Teresa Wickline and Sean DeWitten will be presenting. You're both first grade teachers.
Okay, Ms. Brown talked to you about some of the things the middle school does, the IEB test, and how they're going to spread that out over 3 tests this year. But in K through 5, we use a variety of assessments to determine the student's strengths and weaknesses. We use DIBELS, iRead, English, Language Arts, and Math benchmark tests. We use the SRI, SMI, Odyssey, Moby Max lessons, weekly classroom assessments, and fluency tests. A collection of data from these various assessments are used to determine specific student weaknesses. Teachers use this data to create small groups in the classroom and to give individualized instruction based on the student's needs. These assessments are also used to determine who needs reading and math intervention with our Title I teachers and our interventionists.
And also, we meet in our weekly PLCs, and each teacher has used various data points to determine their lowest performing 25% in the classroom. And so in our PLCs, we continue to work on instructional changes that we need to make and interventions that we can do to directly impact those lower achieving students. And then we also do data notebooks and portfolios. I have a first grade one here that I'll pass around if you would like to look at it. Students keep track of various assessments in here and also keep work samples that they are very proud of and they've done very well in. We track our attendance each day, our behavior each day. Now this is just a first grade one and the first time I've ever done it, so we began it this year. And we also track their spelling tests for the week, math facts and sight words, and they can look and almost do like a mini conference with you about their assessment and how they're doing, whether they've increased from one week to the next, decreased, maybe talk about why their scores went down one week, they didn't study as much, or they, something was going on that week. And also they will create a student goal each week about something they would like to improve on and what they can do to reach that goal, if they met that goal at the end of the 9 weeks, how they felt about that. And then we'll make a new one for the second 9 weeks. And then, again, work samples in the back. We also put our DIBELS data in this, and iRead data. And, it helps them decide what their goals are going to be each 9 weeks based on the data that they charted in their book of their assessments each week, each Friday. They do that.
And they actually look forward to doing that each Friday to see how their scores have gone up. They look forward to that. And even daily when we do the attendance and the behavior, they're like, oh, my card stayed on pink today. I get to put a P for today's date.
And they can look at their whole month, this many times I was absent this month.
Or was tardy.
Or were tardy, yes. And how many times my behavior was good that month.
And also, some of the primary teachers have had Anita Archer training. We were able to go to that. Jennifer Ashlock training, and some teachers are having extensive training in that right now. We've also had lots of iRead training, which is a computer-based software program that the children use at least 20 minutes, 5 days a week. And it monitors their learning, and it will provide individualized and appropriate instruction for them.
We have a lot of things that go with reading, language arts, kind of lacking a little in math programs and math assessments. Lorraine may go over that here in a little bit, but we do have a lot that goes with the reading, language arts. And just in closing, Duval teachers strive to create a structured and organized learning environment. We use varied instructional strategies, cooperative learning, high levels of student engagement, and technology on a daily basis. And these classroom management techniques, along with analysis of the data, are very important in improving our students' achievements. Have any questions for us before we sit down?
I'd just like to thank Kirk King for purchasing our portfolios for us. So we have one from pre-K all the way to 8th grade. Every child has a portfolio this year. So thank you for purchasing that with Title I funds, approving that for us.
And again, that was K through 5, which is as far as we could go.
We're
in our
elementary.
knowledge, yes.
Doreen Gallion is going to go over our middle school strategies to improve achievement. She is not necessarily a middle school teacher, but we switched things around, and Doreen will do anything you ask. So she said, sure, I'll do that.
Yes, sometimes it gets me in trouble. In the middle school, what they're doing, which is grades 6 through 8, is they're using their PLCs, and they're also identifying the 25 lowest performing students. And so some of the things, they're using last year's summative assessment to do that, along with other things in their classroom, so that they can look and see, well, what do we need to do to get this low 25%, achieving a little bit higher. I know that their PLCs are usually vertical teaming, so they're able to look at kids, that you might have had in the 6th grade that are now in the 7th grade, and they can have good conversations about maybe strategies to help increase performance for those students. System 44, that is being used by our special ed teachers. I believe it is for reading, Betsy? Yes, is for reading. I know that, phonics. Rachel McCormick has been trained in that, and we're starting to implement that. We, as a school, we use what it used to be SMI and SRI. It is now the math inventory and the reading inventory. They took off the S. So the math inventory and the reading inventory. And so what that does is that's going to test our students, and it's going to see where they fall when it comes to college and career readiness. It tests, I believe, all the way up to 12th grade. And it starts as low as kindergarten. However, at Duval, we only have enough licenses right now to use it 3 through 8. And that's something that we, would like to look at, getting that tool to use in our lower grades. We have special topics classes 3 times a week, which are our leadership.
No.
Okay, sorry. Just special topics. Is that ecology
And
and?
that's still in our leadership, so.
I'm sorry.
But you're doing a great job.
You might know what you're talking about.
We'll fill in the gaps here in a moment. So
Special topics are?
we have things like working on grammar. There are special topics in mathematics, and we get some additional instruction in social studies and science, because those classes are not blocked like our English and math are. Again, it's still along the line of core subjects.
Okay. And then tutoring once a week. So I know that they mentioned the IABs in teaching. We love acronyms. There's an acronym for everything, IAB, IAC, it never stops. So interim assessment blocks. So what that is it's a practice test to get our students prepared for taking the summative assessment. And these are shortened tests as to where the summative assessment will be much larger, and they're focusing on one skill area. So it might just be vocabulary for this test. And so what we've asked is our teachers look at those, and there are several of them that you can choose from. The students are able to take them up to 99 times. So they can take it more than once if need be. And so I know that in English, one of the teachers, Ms. Dunlap, was telling me today that what she did is she assigned that to her students, and then they wrote, and then she printed off the rubric, and she printed off their answers, and she said, okay guys, let's look at this rubric. This is what we're going to be scored on. Look at what you did and see, did you score a 2? Did you score a 1? Why did you score a 2? Why did you score 1? So the students could actually look at what they did and what they did or did not do, and say, well, you know what, I really need to capitalize, because if I don't capitalize, I'm going to get a 1 instead of a 2 when I could have got a 2. So I think that that's one great way that those are being used. And like they said, we're going to use them. Last year, we shoved them all at the end. And I believe the reason was because we weren't aware, or maybe they weren't released yet, or that we weren't aware that they were released yet. So once we were aware that they were released, it seemed like we had to do a bunch right at the end. And I think our students at that time were a little bit burnt out with the testing. So this year, we're spreading those out. This 2 weeks we're going to use, and we've instructed the teachers that, you know, look at these, see what you've covered so far, have your students take maybe 1, 2, maybe 3 of these, and then go over them. And, you know, really prepare your students on what's going to happen when they go in and take their summative assessment. Along with that, there is the interim comprehensive assessment, which is basically a practice test. I mean, it's just like the regular summative assessment at the end of the year. And we're going to do that at the end of March. And they're also we're using student portfolios throughout the school where students can chart their data, look at where I am, think about, you know, a big part in middle school is getting these kids to think about, this is where I am, and this is where I want to be, and what do I have to do so that I can get to where I want to be. You know, maybe I want to be a lawyer, but if I'm not performing well, am I going to be able to get there? So what do I need to do? They're reflecting on themselves and saying, what do I need to do to get me where I want to be in life? I know that we're going to do a Know Your Numbers campaign, so that we're looking at and talking about all of this data, and so that the students know, maybe I got a 2 and I want to get a 4. So what do I need to do in order to get there?
Great job.
How about, are you guys getting warm like I am?
Do you want me to turn it back on?
I think we might.
Okay.
I was turned it off so you guys could hear us.
Before you move along, I have a
Sure,
comment,
yeah.
a question, maybe better address.
Sure.
First, I watched Noreen grow up. Y'all might be wondering about my comment here a minute ago. She literally grew up within eyesight of my mom and dad's store, so I've watched her grow up. She knows me well enough to just ignore me when I say things that I think are funny that others may not. But my serious question, and it applies, I mean, either group of you, anyone here could probably answer it because I know she had the same strategy for both groups, and that's to identify the lowest performing 25% of your classes, or percent of your students in each class. My question is really, what additional resources are you devoting just to the lowest performing 25%? And how does that affect the 75 best percent achieving students in terms of allocation of resources?
I'll let her address part of that in a moment, since she's one of our Title I teachers. But one of the reasons that we are looking at that is because of the new A/F grading system. That's one of those factors that contribute to the grade that we have. So that's one of the reasons that we're concentrating. That is a percentage of our grade. How is that bottom 25% performing and increasing? So she can address as a Title I teacher and as from our interventions what we're doing with those students.
In Title I, what I do is I look at the students who might be underperforming, and what I'm doing right now is I'm pulling them out for math, and I'm really focusing on what skills they might be missing at the moment. So what I'm doing might not be what the classroom teacher is doing, because what I want to do is maybe, you know, if you cannot add or subtract, it's almost impossible for you to multiply and divide. So I might have to go back and really teach addition and subtraction in a way that makes these students understand, you know, this is, you know, numbers, I'm breaking it apart and putting it together, and how I need to do that so that they can go on and eventually hopefully catch up. We have this year we've included an interventionist, which is part-time. She comes 3 days a week. And we also have added another Title I position. Last year I was the only Title I position, and this year we have, so I'm focusing on math this year. Last year I did reading and math, and then Emily Brumfield, who's on maternity leave right now, who will be coming back in November, I believe, that position's focusing on reading. And then we also have an interventionist that's going in the classroom and focusing on small groups.
I've got a better one than Rowdy, I put a few diapers on.
And in polling the bottom 25%, we discovered that between 80 and 90% of those students are already in our special ed programs.
All right, so the next part, I will take care of this because this is one thing that I'm really passionate about. We have some student leadership initiatives, and there are 4 parts to what we're doing this year. First of all, in our elementary classes, we have elementary leadership projects. So our students are going to learn leadership skills centered around a year-long project. For instance, one of the first ones that we had talked about and decided on was our 5th grade teachers. They are doing a gardening project that will be year-long, and they're in the process of getting some grant monies right now to have some raised beds, and the students are going to be planting in the spring. So again, this will probably be carried through, next year as well with harvesting. We also have, if you guys want to address what you all are doing in kindergarten and 1st grade for the leadership project.
Kindergarten and 1st grade are going to be collecting pop tabs for the Ronald McDonald House. Our students are going to take leadership roles in that as they learn more about how this is going to work. They're going to go to other classrooms and be student ambassadors and explain to those classrooms what the project does, how those pop tabs help other students their age, and encourage them to bring in the pop tabs and help our school as a whole collect as many as we can. And then we'll also tie in measurement, because they get so much per pound of those pop tabs, and how that pound is calculated, and those pop tabs are recycled, and we'll just bring all that in, all that learning in throughout the whole year. We're going to make a prediction and an estimation of how many pounds of pop tabs we can collect by the end of the year, and then they're doing a nice community service project that is learning throughout the year for them. That's for K-1.
Yeah, so some of the grades went together, like kindergarten, 1st grade, some like 2nd grade, they're just doing their own. 3rd and 4th grade is together, 5th is on their own. But they all have a different leadership project that's long-term, that students will be learning leadership skills and actually demonstrating leadership, not just learning them, but actually demonstrating. They're going to be the leaders of projects. In our middle schools, it had already been built to the schedule that our middle school students had clubs last year. So one of the first things I asked Ms. Brown, I said, do you think the school will be receptive to changing those 2 leadership teams? And everyone seemed to be very receptive. I didn't hear anything negative about that. So we have leadership teams, and one thing that was really unique about this was that the students got to fill out applications almost as if they were applying for a job to the leadership team on which they wanted to have a position. So they were introduced to all of what was available, then they had to apply to be part of the team. And they were selected based upon the reasons that they had given that they wanted to be part of that team, and the skills that they felt like they had that would serve that team well. So those meet every Friday. Some of the teams are just doing some really great things. We have a robotics team now. I'm really proud of them. We've gotten different people. Ms. Brown, who is helping to support that. So they're going to be having their first competition. I think it's in November. So we're really excited about them competing. I know before school started, I had a parent asking, is there any way we can do anything with robotics? Because she has a student who is in the program and he's interested in that. So with Jeremy Lawson and his background already, we were able to make that happen for him and some other students. One of the other teams that's, again, I think talk about all of them. So please, if you're in here, I don't know if you have any middle school teachers here, I could brag on all of them, but I do want to mention just a couple more. Brandon Smith, who spends his time half the time here, half the time at Midway as an art teacher. He is sponsoring, even though he teaches elementary arts, he wanted to be part of this, and so he's sponsoring an art murals team. So they just got started today, so ignore what's out there. It will look so much better when they're finished, but a welcome to Duval sign, and they have plans to put murals throughout the school. And the kids are so excited. I walked by today when they were just drawing the outlines, and one of the girls said, "This makes me so happy." And so just to hear her say that she was so happy that they were doing that, she was excited about it. And then we have the Jacket Buzz. So we have a team that is putting together like a video news segment for the whole school, and that's viewed every Monday. So Miss Ashley Prince, that was her idea, and the kids are loving that. So I was doing an observation in the classroom on Monday, and at the beginning of that class, the teacher, before he went into the prezzies that the students were giving that day, we watched the jacket buzz. And it was just so neat to see our kids presenting the news of Duval, but also the news of the community and the world. So it's just a really great thing. And again, there are so many others. I could spend a lot of time talking about the projects and the elementary classes and leadership teams in the middle school, but the kids are really buying into this, and it's going well. The third component of our leadership initiatives are that we have monthly leadership themes. We started out with respect. Our first theme was respect, and then we have a weekly focal point under that theme. And our first weekly focal point was saying yes ma'am, no ma'am, yes sir, no sir. And it was so neat. It seems like a simple thing, but you know, I tell students a lot when I get to talk to them one-on-one that those kinds of skills are going to take you a lot farther in life than your IQ. If you have those good people skills, and if you're respectful. So we feel like respect is such a great part of being a leader. Right now, our theme is being the best me possible. And we're focusing on Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. So the first one was being proactive. I think the next one is putting first things first. So we're going through all of those. Now, when we started out with these weekly focal points, at first every week we had teachers to pick a student from, actually we started out with 2 per grade level that best exemplified those leadership traits that we were trying to teach them. And then they wanted something like the first round, they had lunch with Ms. Brown and myself, and we bought them Subway. So if you look at our leadership bulletin board out here, you'll see us eating lunch with some of our students. So there are 4 different lunches, so we like to try to save our Subway. We do a little bit first lunch, a little bit second lunch, so we basically eating all day. But we've done different things. They've gotten gift cards, so it's really neat. Student portfolios, we've already mentioned that. We've passed one around, but again, that is through all of our grades. Some other initiatives. So what I think Ms. Noreen had brought up the Know Your Numbers campaign. We're going to have the week before Thanksgiving, after all of our middle school students have finished comprehensive, well not comprehensive, but the interim assessment blogs, and our elementary students have finished the Odyssey benchmarks. And of course, we'll be past the first 9 weeks then. Our students are in the middle school are going to carry those portfolios from class to class to class and really concentrate on, how did I perform that first 9 weeks? And again, like she said, setting goals and figuring out how am I going to get to those goals. We just had it recently approved that part of the leadership team will be going to Raleigh, North Carolina to visit Avon Coles Elementary. And this is the school at which the Leader in Me program was born. And that's a program, again, it's about student leadership. That school is a magnet school for student leadership. And they developed the Leader in Me program, which is all centered around Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. So we're going to get to visit them next month. Thank you again, Kurt King, for approving that. Another initiative is Yellow Jacket Time. This is our positive behavior support part of our plan. He's my mentor, so I have to keep saying thank you, right? So anyways, so with a Yellow Jacket Time, this is something that's immediate. Instead of, elementary students and even still middle school students, sometimes they need that immediate reward. And so this was decided before I had gotten here. The leadership felt like they needed something more immediate. So they get some extra time to stay outside each day if they've met certain criteria with their behavior, and not having zeros in class, with their attendance, no tardies. So again, there's about 5 pieces of criteria they have to meet. Our parent coordinator, I've asked her to do newsletters this year, so she's getting ready to give one out based upon the first 9 weeks. She just printed those today. We are going to put in place a National Junior Honor Society this year, so we have Beverly Brown working on that. We're going to have perfect attendance recognition awards every 9 weeks, and so each student will get a B, or a yellow jacket, I should say, if they've had perfect attendance for a 9 weeks period. And at the end of the year, they will receive prizes, and that prize will increase if they get 4 yellow jackets. Their prize will be a little bit better than those who only had perfect attendance for 9 weeks. We're getting ready to take a reward trip to the aquarium in somewhere in Kentucky. Where is that, Maureen?
Newport.
There we go. For those students who did well on West Virginia Summative Assessment, and get students this year excited about, oh, I can do that next year if I improve. And one of the things, again, I've talked to our parent coordinator with, who was also one of my former students. We have the math and reading nights that come through the funding that she has. I asked her if we could do one this year to engage families in the community whose children will eventually come here, but they're not yet preschool age, so they're not in our preschools, where we want to buy books that have the alphabet and buy books that have numbers in it, bring them in, offer incentives like large gift cards to Walmart and feed them. And then our pre-K teachers are going to give some instruction to these parents about how to start reading to your children even before they're in preschool. Or if you're like me and you're a little crazy, you read to your children while you're pregnant. But it worked. So we're going to engage families again of those very early. Do that. Do you girls read while you're pregnant? So, all right, so those are our other initiatives. And next up, for student health and safety, we have a couple of our parents, Justina and Jennifer, who will be presenting.
Health and safety are basic fundamental needs that greatly affect the ability to learn, comprehend, and retain. This is why so much attention is needed in safety, nutrition, physical health, and mental health. Safety should be at the top of any school's agenda. Over the summer, our front office received a new window with a metal roll down, for which we are grateful. For the safety of our students, we have a card system in place that requires anyone picking up children through our pickup line to display a specific card that they have obtained from the school.
And we got a commendation, by the way, when OEPA visited the last time for that procedure that we have in place.
Our students participate in fire drills as well as code red drills in order to teach them what to do in different emergency situations. Many of our staff has participated in the ALICE training as well. Preparedness is vital in ensuring the safety of our students. And then you have nutrition. It's key in allowing the body to function as it should. Our students are provided with 2 meals a day, and we're fortunate that our students can have these meals free of charge without our families worrying about ability to pay. We have fresh fruit and vegetable grant that provides students with fresh fruits and vegetables usually 2 times per week. Some of these are new to the students and gives them opportunities to try new things. We have a nutrition program where, like through Marshall, where a nutritionist comes and does a session with our kids each week for like 6 to 8 weeks for grades K through 12. K through 2, sorry. We also have someone that comes and does it through West Virginia Extension Agency for 3rd and 4th grades as well. They focus on making healthy choices while involving the kids by making a healthy recipe that they can try at the end of the session. Last year, they also discussed gardening and gave the students seeds they could bring home and plant in order to show the children the importance of agriculture. To further help our children understand the importance of fresh foods, Miss Boback and Miss Matthews, which is our 5th grade teachers, are now doing a leadership group with gardening. That's what Ms. Patton had briefly talked about. While most of this happens at school, we hope the education will just continue in their home lives with all this, fruit and vegetable and that sort of thing. Some of our children have a need for the backpack program, which sends home food with students that has been identified as needing additional nutritional support. This is a very important program that helps ensure our students are not hungry on the days that they're away from school.
And as she said, nutrition plays a vital role in their physical health. Along with making sure requirements for physical education are met, and the fitness gram and the heat test, many of our teachers also use the Go Noodle program, which encourages short periods of movement throughout the day. That gives them a mental break as well, and in our middle school, they have the brain breaks as well, where it's just a short period where they just take a time out and have a regrouping session. Our school nurse and the staff at the Yellow Jacket Center also work to keep our kids and staff healthy. Our school nurse provides the vision and the hearing screenings, as well as ensuring all of our immunizations are up to date, and that our medical needs are addressed and taken care of on an individual basis. School nurse also goes into the classroom to educate on many health topics, such as, our puberty, the body image, dental hygiene, just personal hygiene, things that are very important to our students. The school nurses are there to provide total well-being while striving to help every student attain academic success. They also oversee the fluoride program, which aims at improving dental health in hopes to cut down absences in the school system from having to make those appointments and go to visit the dentist. Another thing that they do, our school nurse provided the staff training in our new AED that was purchased, which is dual use for pediatric and adult. So all the staff was able to take that training so they can be prepared in an emergency. We are fortunate to have Miss Renee Christian and her staff at the Yellow Jacket Center. She provides many needed services such as well child visits, sick clinics, so they can be seen immediately and decide whether they need to be sent home from school or if they can actually stay for the day and continue their education on that day. They both work very well together, Renee and her school nurse, to ensure that the students' health care needs are met, and they both encourage the children to have positive, healthy outcomes and to try to stay healthy throughout the school year by washing hands and things of that nature. We also have our wellness committee here at the school that focuses on improving nutritional and physical activity habits of the students. Our teachers in K-5 have also been equipped with a new health curriculum called the Great Body Shop, which provides monthly booklets with weekly lessons that are sent home to parents at the end of the month in hopes of continuing the education at home. Some of those topics do include abuse, domestic violence, and things like that, so it's a wonderful thing to be able to send home with the students. Ms. McDavid was trained in this curriculum and is sharing her knowledge with the rest of her staff here. Our mental health often takes a back seat, and as Ms. Patton, the LSIC had discussed, that mental health is a major need here just for the services in the county. It's no less important than our physical health. Our guidance counselor tries to make time to go into our classrooms to educate on mental health topics, as well as decision making. He also has a leadership group, one of the other ones, it's called No Bull Calls, that focuses on reducing bullying. We have many students and staff that live with a mental health diagnosis daily, and more education and mental health services are needed to combat the stigma that surrounds mental health. We have many positive health and safety programs here at Duval, but there are always things that could help us improve. We would like for the board to support in any way possible lowering the ratio of the number of kids per school nurse. The school nurses play a vital role in the success of our students, and it's oftentimes overlooked, and we're seeing an increase in the complexity of our students' health care needs while they're here at school. Which is the reason for that. We would also like to see an additional guidance counselor for the school, as it would allow for more students to be reached on a personal level, as well as for more education on mental health for both staff and the student development. Ms. Patton always says it doesn't hurt to ask. Health and safety are imperative to our school success. Maslow's hierarchy of needs says that we must first meet our physiological and our safety needs before we can reach higher levels.
And Julie Johnson is now going to address our facility needs.
So unlike Midway, I am gonna ask. So, I have students actually, I have one at Midway, I have one at Duval, and I have one at the high school, so I'm spread all across the county. And I know that this is also an older building that has some major needs. A few of them, our bleachers, of course, just wear and tear over the years, they're old, and unfortunately, they also have some cracks and holes in them. So, they went past the point of just not being pretty to actually being a safety hazard to our students and to our guests that we have in and out of our school. Again, you all have already addressed the sewer system. Other than just the odor and the normal things like that, we have problems with flooding here. Unfortunately, when it floods, it causes extra problems with our sewer system which is a major health issue. So we appreciate that you're looking into that and hope that that is taken care of in the near future. New and updated roof. Again, we've had some major leaks. We've actually had some tiles in the upstairs classrooms collapse into the classrooms. Those have been repaired over the years. Again, it's just an old building. It's wear and tear. It's things that eventually are gonna have to be addressed and taken care of. And again, we know that you will have a lot of schools and not a whole lot of money. When it says updated student restrooms, what we mean by that, you guys have already replaced some bathroom stalls for us in the boys' restroom. We're very grateful for that. However, when it was changed from a high school into an elementary school, the urinals were never lowered. So unfortunately for the majority of the boys here, they're not reachable. So they're not a whole lot of help on a daily basis. And we would also request that maybe we could put up some partitions between the urinals, just with the way things are today and the changes that the society has taken. We feel like providing the privacy for each child to the best ability is what we need to be doing to protect each child. We have some additional needs that we would like. She already mentioned the counselor, the new intercom system. This is a safety issue. The reason being is there are some classrooms that the teachers are unable to hear at all. So they are practicing these code reds and code blacks and things like that. Unfortunately, to get a hold of some of the teachers, you have to send somebody in the classroom. That's a major issue when you have just a few seconds to respond to something. Also, the only way to use the intercom system in the school is through the main office. If someone comes into the main office, which is usually what happens in these bad situations that we're seeing, they're disabled in the office. So now we have a whole entire school that doesn't know what's going on and no way to notify anybody throughout the school what's going on until it's already reached a proportion that it shouldn't be at. So we need to be able to notify each classroom and let them know, listen, lock your doors. Do what you've been practicing, protect these kids, take all the, steps that you need to assure safety. A new in-house phone system. Again, with this, we would like to be able to reach specific teachers, whether it's in a case of an emergency or whether it's just discretion. If we want to reach a child that's in a classroom and we don't want to embarrass that child, whether there's been a family emergency or there's been an issue with behavior or anything like that, to be able to call up to a classroom and simply say, hey, without having to announce to 30 students who are going to be nosy, that's just life. Can you please send, my daughter's Kara, can you please send Kara Johnson to the office? Well, now we have a whole entire 8th grade that wants to know why Kara Johnson's in the office. But if we can call up to the classroom and say, hey, can you please get a hold of Kara and just have her come down here, I need to speak with her, that protects that child. Now, we're very grateful for the things you all done. We're grateful for the front entrance ramp, the lights that have been installed out here. It's a great safety issue. It also looks much better. You guys repaired some covers in the annex out there over the vents and stuff. You've also repaired the boys' bathroom stalls. We know that you guys are doing your best to keep our kids in an up-to-date facility and keep them safe. These are just things that we know will eventually have to be addressed over the time in order to keep our kids in the safest condition.
So we thank you guys for your time. Hopefully it gives you all. We told all of us knew we had about 5 minutes. I probably went longer than everybody because my dad's a preacher and I take after him. But, so we apologize if we went a little long. But I just want to again state, one of our goals also is to increase parent achievement and to look to see how many people that we have here participating. And they've already attended most of them LSIC meetings before this one. So I just, again, thank all of you for what you're doing and to improve our schools. All right, we're finished.
Let me just, one thing on facilities. Mr. Dosney's here, and a couple of the issues that you brought up here, I think he might give us a little insight into those. We've talked a little bit about the sewage system, and because some of these aren't unique just to your school, they're countywide issues. Gyms, bleachers, roofs, Greg, any of those things?
Yeah, one of the things, well, a couple things here. One of the things and I sent Ms. Patton an email back on October the 4th. These things start on 7/12, 7/29, 9/20, 9/22, 9/27. We'd spent over $1,300 pumping out the lift station because of personal hygiene products being put in there and clogging the system up. So the lift station, we added it this year to Kimron, have it treated regularly to keep the odor down. But if they continue to keep putting and this came from Kimron, or, that does our septic systems, all the wipes they were finding, all the personal hygiene products that were stopping up the pumps, we have to address that also. When you have a 2-inch line that's going as a lift station over across here to the sewer plant, and when it gets clogged up, well, you gotta come in, you gotta pump it all out, and then you gotta unclog the pump and put it all back together. So that's already happened
It'll be a
about.
cooperative effort here, looks like.
Right, so, yeah, so that's, and what, some of the pictures that we showed, and it was one of my concerns when I was, first came on in the summer and I started going around looking at facilities. And I've been around all of them for years also. I know probably every place up in the ceiling everywhere in this building. When you have the walls, and Kimron, these are the professionals that take care of it. The pictures I was showing, the walls are coming in, and when the walls give way, you can't separate your waste and different things in the sewer plant. So when it gives way, it's gone. That's it. Now, whether or not, like Mr. Was talking about a temporary, that can be explored, but getting it here, that's the biggest thing.
Oh, it
Getting it here.
would take time.
And getting it set up and
Take
getting
time.
EPA and a DEP, all these people have to come in. There's permits that has to be done and all these things have to be done. So our proposal is that on the MIP is, in April, we've already got the pictures, we already started the process. This proposal is to replace the sewer plant that's here and the sewer plant at Midway. Those are the two that are in the worst shape. Primarily, this is by far the worst one that's in this situation here. We did put in a new leach bed this past summer. We replaced that to help absorb it and to kind of help the odor go away. Those are the things we're looking at. We even looked at, we went back and looked at for the last 2 years, how many gallons are we using, how many gallons are we treating in sewage here? And the highest was at 8,000 gallons. And it averaged about 4,000 per month is what we were treating here on the sewage part. So based on that, we were able to take it down to get that. I've talked with the SBA, or Representative SBA. He's in the process of working with us to try and get us a good proposal. I really want to get this replaced. I want to get it replaced as quick as we can. And the other part is on the roof. I've had roof inspectors go around throughout the county. They've been here. There's a lot of issues with the roof. We're hoping they're going to open up to 3% with this major improvement project. So what they usually do, they'll say, you come up, the 3% will do roofs. It's kind of not funny, but it is funny to me. But when the SBA first came out and they were going to open up to 3%, they thought it was just going to be 2 or 3 people. They didn't realize across the state how bad the situation is with roofs in the county. This one, 1985 on some sections of it, but now I'm not sure whether they're going to open up to 3%. There's still some discussion about whether they're going to do that or not with the monies that they have available. What we talked about was 8 million, something like that across the board is all they're going to allow. So I'm hoping we're going to get 1 million of them. But those are the areas that we're looking at right now. So.
I'm assuming that the things that you need facility-wise, you place in the school system?
I don't know that I have actually gotten all of those in, but I was told to do that, and we will. I started, I think, yesterday, and I didn't complete, because we, as you see, we had an extensive list.
Well, and I
think we had 5 or
understand
6
that a lot of
things.
this is your
Yes.
the
And some of
process.
those things, like with the roof, we had mentioned at the beginning of the year, like Julie had mentioned, we had some tiles just to, burst over some teachers' desks. And so those things were put in initially. It wasn't put in as you replace the whole roof kind of thing, but, and those were addressed, immediately.
Well, let me tell you about this roof here. You walk up on this roof, the panels where the rubberized roof is attached, the rubberized roof is pulled away.
Really?
But the panels that are attached to it, I'm telling you, I thought it was over with for me. I walked on the roof and stepped down. It went down 2 feet and, I may have wet my pants, I don't know. But I'm telling you, that's a disheartening thing when you're stepping on a roof and all of a sudden it goes down about 6 to 8 inches.
So can you tell us where in the building that was?
That was
That explains
right over here on
those
this top part over here.
Well, let us know when you
So-
get back up on the
And
roof.
actually, the gentleman that's doing it for the SBA that done the inspections, Lenny, I actually tried to contact him again today because he's having a report. And he was the one, and we had to point it out to him. One of our workers come with him to look at the roof, and had to point out to him before he stepped on it. And when he stepped on it, he couldn't believe how all that, it's an insulated, it's 2-inch insulated board that's between there, and in some sections, it's all came through. And I'm telling you, it's a trip. It's like taking an elevator and going down
I
real
guess the
quick.
message here is tell everybody to stay off the roof.
And I
Yeah.
think maybe at the beginning of the year, I know you said put that on school due maybe we did put the bleachers on at the beginning, because I had quite an extensive list.
The reason I mention that is this, what he is responsible for is a countywide facility.
Right.
He has 5 maintenance men, 5 people that within his staff. So what he has to do is to prioritize things that are going on countywide, realizing that any given day there are emergencies that, take precedence over everything. So we just ask that everybody place those on there, so that way it gives him, he can kind of plan his work. But I understand that there's a lot to do.
Yes.
I'll give the board members, anybody here, a chance to speak, but I just like to thank everybody for coming. All of you all that devote extra time, whether you be parents or teachers or staff members of any kind, you're going out of your way, the things you don't really have to do. And, we appreciate that, and your kids appreciate it, and everybody does. Unfortunately, not enough people do that, so those of you who do, we commend you. Board members, anything?
I just say these 2 presentations have really been great this evening. Well thought out, concise, to the point, great.
That's what Mr. Wilson wants. Thank you, appreciate it very much. If you all would like to leave, offend us in any way, we're gonna go do some other things here, but if you've been here a long time,
But you're welcome to stay as well. Like the rest of our business.
Turn my hair back on this.
Oh, yes, sorry. The air lady.
They're about to die. You need to
I don't know how much I'm looking forward to that though. Well, I just hope that your daughter and my daughter survive that safely because St. Joe's defenders are very aggressive. Yep, and very physical. So, St. Joe, what, 7? Is that right? Yeah, and on round 2, you know where that St. Joe plays?
Catholics.
Whatever, what's the field, Johnson Field or something?
I gotta see who you're reading.
No.
I'll be able to read between the lines. Okay, we proceed then. Let's go on down to the administrative section. Can I have a motion, please?
I'll second.
I think Mr. Baker made the
Started,
motion,
yep.
and Ms. Smith seconded. I think. Okay. Mr. Midkiff.
Ready. Item A, the following adult student to ride the school bus for the 2016-2017 school year. Item B, school volunteers who on occasion may also serve as bus chaperones for athletic events, academic competitions, or school outings and have completed volunteer orientation. Item C, out-of-state travel for the following personnel. Item D is the approval of the 2016-2017 staff development plan for professional employees, which is attached. Item E, an agreement with Danny Daly to provide assistance and training to the curriculum assessment and technology director for a total of 20 days, according to the terms of the agreement, which is attached, and we're paying for that activity out of county funds. Item F, an agreement with Willing Jesuit University for college pre-service and student teacher placement, according to the terms of the agreement, which is attached. Item G, an agreement with the Marshall University College of Health Professions, Department of Social Work, to establish a field education program whereby MU social work students shall complete required field experience in Lincoln County schools according to the terms of the agreement which is attached. And item H, Marshall University students Megan Edmonds and Allison Jackson to complete social work field experience at Lincoln County High School spring 2017 semester.
It's a mouthful.
That is
Any questions? If not, then I'll call for question. Is that an all yes vote on the administrative items?
Yes.
Yes? Okay. Let's go to finance. Got a motion, please?
Second.
Mr. Curry and Mr. Wilkerson. Mr. Ellis.
Schedule invoices totaling $950,119.44. Of course, list is attached. Come to my office if you have any questions or give me a call about any of that. And then payment of in lieu of transportation for eligible students for the 2016-17 school year. So they're on that list as well.
Okay, everybody's had a chance to look at those. Anybody have any questions about any finance items? If not, is that an all yes vote?
Yes.
Okay. Let's go to personnel. Can I have a motion? Carol? Rowdy? Where's Mr. Lynn? Oh, at the end.
Item A, employment of professional personnel. Number 3, under A, note the effective date will be November the 3rd. Kimberly McMillan will be November 3rd. Item B, transfer of professional personnel. That would be Jonah Atkins from Guy Valley Middle School principal to County Director of Curriculum, Assessment, and Technology, effective October 24, 2016. Item C, transfer of service personnel. Item D, employment of service personnel pending the return of the regular employee. E, employment of substitute personnel. F, employment of extracurricular personnel. G, you got that? Item H, resignations and retirements, and also abolish extracurricular posting internet wiring specialists, EPC I-1738. We have 4 of those, and we're posting for another one. We don't really need it, so we will not be posting for another. But we have 4 people doing that work now.
Okay. Okay. Anybody have any questions about any of those things?
I do.
Mr. Baker?
With the hiring and transfer of Jonah, the Guy Valley Middle School principal, to County Director of Curriculum, Assessment, and Technology, and understanding the health issues Mr. Davis has had, and maybe that his wife was helping out some over there, who's the Dean of Students at Guy Valley, is there someone who's going to step into the administrative position at Guy Valley on October 24th? I mean, I understand you can't hire someone, but do we have someone with significant administrative experience that's going to step in and help until the job can be posted and filled?
Yes, matter of fact, I reached out and talked to Carol's husband, Ed Smith, and he is going to serve in that capacity, what time we post and fill the position.
Okay.
Which could take, a couple weeks or so before get filled.
Perfect.
Okay, as everyone might have noticed, that was the one item that was added to our agenda that wasn't already on the personnel section. Mr. Jonah Atkins being added to the agenda to be transferred to the county office. Okay, no questions then? Is that an all yes vote on personnel items?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. All right, we're down to comments and concerns. Board members.
I have a concern
Howdy.
to address. You're very vocal tonight, haven't you?
Yes, sir. Not unusual though.
You know, what do I say? What can I say?
We appreciate it.
I know that before the board meeting, some of you all may have heard Sean and I talking about incidents that took place during the boys' soccer game last night at Hamlin. It has long baffled me. I played football at Guyan Valley from early 80s till 1987, and we videotaped every football game in those days. As a county school system, from a legal perspective, it would be a very good idea if we had a requirement that every game, competition, etc. be videotaped. There are things that happen at these ball games that create a lot of controversy later. Fortunately, at this point, and last night they changed that, particularly if I have anything to do with it, that there have been no legal proceedings resulting from any of these, but last night's incident was one of the scariest things I've ever seen. I watched an opposing player charge from 30 or 35 yards away and attack one of our players from behind with no warning, and the referees didn't stop it. It led to a brawl, for lack of a better term, during the game. The ejection of red card thrown out of 4 of our players and the 1 of theirs. I'm not to say it. I was very vocal about it last night. I've been vocal about it on social media. The kid that was attacked is my middle daughter's boyfriend. I have vehemently begged her family or his family to pursue criminal charges. That wasn't a sports-related tiff or fight. That was a criminal attack. And I wish that we had videotaped evidence of all of these sporting events for 2 purposes. One, I think if you have that and people know that you have it, it will curb behaviors. I think that if people know their actions are going to be caught on videotape, they will behave better. That's the deterrent effect of all these cities and places that have cameras everywhere. And second, it provides a eyewitness, an indisputable eyewitness. Videotape evidence doesn't lie. Eyewitness testimony is very inaccurate, historically inaccurate. As a lawyer, I would almost rather have hearsay evidence than I would eyewitness testimony, because people never see the things that really happen. I don't know what the cost of that would be. I don't know if it's feasible. I know some of our gyms have cameras, but Jeff, as you'll know from my own personal experiences, those cameras don't cover everything that takes place during a sporting event. And we don't. I can tell you, my daughter, I have 2 daughters on the girls' high school soccer team. We don't videotape our games. I don't know why. I don't know if that's a coach issue, but a wide spectrum videotape of our football games, and I'm sure football videotapes, watching film is a classic technique for football, but I think it's something that we need to do, or at least suggest to the different programs for the 2 reasons I stated. And I would love to have a videotape. Sean, thank you for taking great pictures of last night's incident, but the pictures Sean took, and Sean, he was face and eyes of it, but they don't capture what I saw. When I saw a kid charging from 30 plus yards away at full speed to hit one of our players in the back, it scared me for that kid.
Mr. McCormick, did he not film it? Usually Mr. McCormick filmed it.
He wasn't there.
I don't know. I don't know if there was a videotape of that game. I don't think so.
No,
I didn't see camera.
Film the match.
I didn't see any.
It-
I didn't see any in the bleachers. And I was going to do the last 10 minutes, stream it live on Facebook, and I didn't. Genuinely, I was planning that, but the signal was off, and the tower last night was affecting everyone, so I didn't bother with it. But I wish I had. Then.
Well, I mean, I don't know if anything happened. That incident turned out nobody was seriously injured, but had that, you can't call an 18-year-old a kid. Had he chosen to attack in a slightly different way, our player could have and would have been seriously injured. He was, that child's actions were as stupid as the action he attempted to take. But I wish, I just think it is a great deterrent effect to know you're not going to get away with these things. We're going to lose 4 of our starting high school boys soccer players for the next game, and should they win the next game, we'll lose them for the game after that because of their coming to the rescue of a teammate who was, in my opinion, criminally assaulted from behind by a coward. Had it been made known to the coaches and the players that the game was being videotaped, I'm not sure it would have prevented it, but it would certainly had a chilling effect and made those players and coaches from the opposing team think about their actions, as well as our own players. But, having been there, I don't fault any of our 4 players that were red carded and thrown out. They came to the rescue of a teammate, as I said, that was violently, criminally attacked from behind. But still, we lose those 4 children. We could have had somebody hurt. So,
But their boys were in the pile too, and none of them but just
absolutely.
one of those.
The only Scott player that was ejected was the goalie that came from 30 or 35 yards away to attack Josh Burton from behind. And we lost 4 of our players, red card, and we still, not that there's germane to the point I'm making. But even with a 10-7 advantage over the last, what, Sean, 8 minutes, we still managed to win the game. So the boys really played their heart out, and it was a shame to see that happen. Just a shame.
Well, maybe Mr. B, you can just maybe get a little survey, see how many are being videotaped and all that. With the number of activities there are, maybe some have more need to be videotaped than others. I don't know. There's so many sports and all that go on. Some.
Well, it's usually the Boosters Club, they do it for scouting reason and football.
The coaches.
Yeah, the coaches, I mean.
And it's such a great instructional tool.
Oh, absolutely. In every sport it is. I don't know why every coach doesn't do it as an instructional tool. But coaches are normally teachers or they're volunteers, and to, pack the practicing into, 2 more hours of practice a day in the games. There are only so many hours. I understand there's only so much the coaches can do. I just think that it's something that needs to be considered and proposed at least to every coach. I mean, it isn't, video cameras are dirt cheap. Everybody has an iPhone or a Galaxy that has a gazillion bytes of memory. You can videotape entire games on those. If there's no problems during the game, you don't want to use it as a teaching tool, then delete it. But if you have an incident like last night, that could be the difference in our having 1, 2, 3 players that might be eligible. Because I know an appeal has been made of their being thrown out of those games. I don't know the status of it. But it could, if we had that videotape, it could make a difference in those boys getting to play one more soccer game or not. So anyway.
Well, Mr. Curry, I think made a valid point there that oftentimes the boosters clubs and whatever sport.
And football they do it.
Well, that's the only sport.
Yeah, it's the only sport, it's football. Nobody else does
Well,
it.
I'm just saying, if Mr. Meeky can convey that to the coaches, maybe through the boosters clubs, that they might videotape other sports.
Yeah.
John, can you put that on Twitter, see if anybody has anything?
I sure will. Yep.
That's what, you could put on Twitter and see if anybody has anything on their phones or.
I'd be amazed, but I'd be amazed if it hadn't surfaced.
Well, that's.
Already.
It happened so
Yeah.
fast. There was no warning this was gonna happen. It just happened. All of a sudden.
How long did it take him to get the kids separated?
He was probably from the time he hit Josh, tried to hit Josh from the back until they had him separated. Did 30 seconds, Sean?
Yeah, 30 seconds to a minute, and then about a 6-7 minute break, just to let everyone cool off.
You never know, somebody's their iPhone may have caught, whether it's filming somebody else, may have actually.
It may pop up.
It was so shocking though that I doubt anybody thought to film it.
Yeah, I think
Everybody there knew what was gonna happen, and the people that were not speechless were yelling at Josh to warn him. I mean, it happened that quick, and his back was dead to this kid.
Mr. Meeky is going to
Yeah,
talk to the principal.
that's just something to think about.
It'd be a good project for the new director of technology, maybe. Suggestion.
Thanks, John.
Okay.
You appreciate that. Okay, anything else, Fred, you have something?
He's being jailed.
There. Sorry? No, I'm just seeing if anybody has anything else they want to discuss. Nothing else, Mike? Mr. Meeky?
I just want to mention to the board that our second month enrollment, we've submitted those numbers, and we did see significant improvement from the numbers that we had when we started the school year, yet we're still down 87 students from this time last year.
That's the official?
That's the official number, and I had our enrollment written down, it's 3,553 students.
3,553.
Yes.
Next year's funding will be based on those.
$500,000.
Mr. Ellis, good luck to you. All right, if there's nothing else, once again, we appreciate you putting up with us here tonight in your presentation. We're glad to have you in this position. All right. I'm sure you do. Glad to have you. Okay, if nothing else, let's adjourn until October the 25th, 2016 at 1 o'clock at the county office. Motion, please.
I'll move.
Fred? Second. Mary? Oh, yes?